Hello, welcome to No Veto Video. I'm Carson.
I'm Catherine. This week we're responding to Under the Shadow, the 2016 movie, which you can watch on Netflix. Let's see. So, it was written and directed by Babak Anvari. It's his debut film. It stars Narges Rashidi, Avin Manshidi, Aram Gassemi. Again, apologies. I like to pick movies where I can't pronounce the names of the people in them, whose work I deeply admire. And Susan Farouknia.
Under the Shadow follows the story of a mother and her daughter, and at the beginning, the husband, and the other people that live in their building as some paranormal events are going on in the midst of a war between Iran and Iraq.
When this first premiered on Netflix, it was really, really hawked. Like, it was heavily advertised. And the trailer was just really compelling because it looked scary, which is not usually something I go for, but it also looked like a movie that sort of delved into an interesting time and place and treated the people that it was concerned with well. You know, that it wasn't, it looked like high art, like a high art scary movie. And this was, before we'd all really come to, Get Out hadn't been released yet and things like that. So, I put this on my list, and then we were waiting for a time to watch it. So I thought that Carson would probably enjoy it, and I was curious enough about it. So on one bright and sunny Sunday afternoon, we watched the film, and now wanted to talk about it a little bit. So for me, while this is like a scary horror movie, it's also a really interesting historical drama. And because it's so clearly tied to that post-revolutionary period of Iranian history where the Iraq-Iran conflict is going on, and it's not a period that I know a ton about. I know a little about it, but how did you feel like the history, the time and place, were working together with the supernatural elements to make this film? Did that work for you? Did it break the film for you? What was your...
I think it was a much better idea than many similar movies I've seen where the backdrop is just generic and doesn't add anything or detract anything for that matter. It's just there's nothing going on outside of their building in many similar movies. It's like no one else even exists. So setting this in the midst of major real world events kind of puts it in a place.
Yeah, and I think for me the uncertainty of the time. So when we first meet, when the film opens, the main character is trying to get back into university after having been expelled because of her political activities during the revolution. And it's sort of that tells you right that moment who this woman is, and then the part that there were plenty of jump scares that were startling to me, and some of the supernatural stuff was startling to me, but the moment I was most afraid for the character came from an entirely mundane, entirely historically accurate moment, which I won't spoil, but for me, the scary, the most frightening aspect of this film was trying to navigate being a woman and a mother in a culture that, had suddenly changed overnight on you, and made that your role in public life that much more tenuous.
Yeah, there were a number of things. I'm not sure which one you're referring to. I can think of at least two that were real world things that were probably scarier than any paranormal thing that was going on. There was also a child, not the main child in the action, but who was extremely creepy.
Yes. Yeah, you definitely had like the creepy country cousin like aspect here.
Yeah.
So that was definitely. But then, it turns out he's creepy because he's traumatized. Like,
yeah.
He's traumatized because he's a war orphan.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So all of his creepiness, all of his trauma, it kind of all adds together, and then he goes from being a creepy element to being, like, wiser than his years. I don't know, like, he's in touch with something in a way that the adults around him aren't. Like, he has a prescience.
Maybe. It also felt like he was in touch with The Shining.
Well, I mean, a little. I mean, the idea was that, like, his trauma had made him open to...
Yeah.
Like, clearly in this world, the trauma of war, like, invites the interaction of the supernatural. Like, that they like to... The creatures that we're talking about like to slip in when things are unsettled. And
yeah.
What better time than during a war?
That's true.
The most upsetting thing for me, though, was what turned out to be a supernatural thing, but it was grounded in this unhappy relationship that she's in the midst of, like, her husband, her children, her child, and her, and all this uneasy tension of this moment.
Something I noticed, even though we do see the outside, and we do see other people's apartments, and we interact with a number of other people throughout the movie, most of the movie really focuses on 2, maybe 3 rooms.
Yeah.
And they were able to do a lot just with sticking in that small of a place.
So this was filmed in Jordan to give us sort of a stronger sense of space or place. And, and we watched the version in Farsi with English subtitles. If you watch it on Netflix, there's a couple of different language options and a couple of different subtitle options. So, your mileage may vary. I think by default ours was set to play the English dub, which just didn't look or sound right.
Yeah, you don't like it when lips don't match the words.
It really bugs me. It's very hard to watch. So from time to time, No Veto videos had that problem, and I apologize. Like, it's been hard to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really get a strong sense of, and then, the fact that it's basically a 4-flat. We pretty much decided that there's 4 different apartments in this building, and so you get to know the 4 families, and then sort of as they begin to, like, slip away, the nature of that. So very interesting. So yeah, the building, the apartment, you really get this strong sense of, like, what it means to go down into the basement.
Yeah. And there's a garage, too. I don't know if it's on another level, like maybe the garage then 4 units, or if it's sticking out the front and connected. I'm not sure. But
yeah.
So that's, I guess, another level of it.
Basement, garage, and then 4 apartments.
And some of the action takes place there as well. So, yeah, they used pretty much every part of that building. And the courtyard.
Yeah, but you really do, like you were saying, you really do get a strong sense of the specificity of this space.
Yeah. And depending on the angle they shoot it from, it gives it give some of the rooms an entirely different quality, like peaceful versus...
Or huge and expansive, or really, really claustrophobic and tight.
Yeah. It felt a little like some of the things that Kubrick has done with cinematography.
Yeah, playing with space. It's true. That's true.
Not to, harp on The Shining a whole lot.
That's okay. It's a stand-in for us.
Yeah.
Standout performances?
It's hard for me to pick. There were a lot of good performances. I think all the two main children, there's the daughter is definitely one of the main characters, but the shell-shocked kid was also kind of a major minor character. Both of them did extremely good jobs. A lot of movies I've seen with child actors, they don't quite nail it. Just lack of experience. I mean, it's nothing against their performances. We all, get better the more we do something. But I think these two children really nailed it. Just the look on the expressions on, I forget the boy's name, but he just really captured the emotion of what was going on.
Yeah, I think, Dorsa, the character, the child, has a lot to do in this film, although she spends a large section of the middle portion being sick, and so not being carried from place to place, and a little whiny, but that's what a sick kid is. A sick kid is whiny.
Yeah.
So for me, the standout performance was really the main character. So, played by Nargis Rashidi, she has sort of this "I've got to hold it all together" kind of thing, and so, is she going insane? Is this all in her head? Is it a real thing that's happening? At some points, during the rising tension of the structure of this film, there is this sort of idea of maybe she's really just losing it, maybe she's just lost her mind, and she kind of plays the delicate balance of that really, really well, I think. So, and so much of this movie rests so squarely on her, in a kind of alien sort of way, she's left alone to try and hold things together.
I saw it not so much as, is she losing her mind or is there something paranormal going on? I saw the dynamic of her trying to just convince everyone else that, mostly her daughter, but some other people in the building as well, that everything just has a rational explanation. Things go missing, or, things
But I see that as sort of her resistance to the revolution too, right? Just to say, she was a person of science, she clearly embraced Western culture, things have a rational explanation, and we don't need to give up our, power in the world to the forces of superstition and myth. Mm-hmm. But people keep going no, really, the power, superstition and myth have tremendous power, and they have power over your life whether you wanted them to or not. In the same way that the religious authorities have power over your life whether you wanted them to or not.
That's a good point. And she was, to build on that a little bit, she was trying to move away from all of these traditions. I mean, that's part of what her revolution was doing, or the revolution she was a part of. It's she was going into medicine, which is a field of science.
There's this interesting thing of was she going into medicine because she wanted to go into medicine, or was she going into medicine because she felt like she owed it to her mother who had died, and that's or it's kind of sort of complicated with grief and everything like that. So
it was, but she seemed to be both in her role in this specific story and in what she had been building towards from the past. Seemed to be a character who just was moving away from the traditions of the past and more towards a more rational future. And I think the dynamics played well with that, between this specific plot and the overarching culture shift that she was experiencing.
I think this film really does a nice job of weaving together so many different elements to kind of, that they all are sort of, threads in a single cable, and they're all kind of working together to pull us towards one particular thing.
Yeah, everything's connected, interrelated.
Connected.
I know it's hard to talk about this movie without giving away too many spoilers, but did you have any other thoughts?
I think one of the aspects of this film that was, and I don't know how much we can talk about it, but that was really very powerful for me, was the depiction of marriage and how difficult it is to feel on equal footing with your spouse when your life isn't quite where you expected it to be. And it's not anybody's fault. It's not anybody's fault. And I don't think it is in this movie either, but that just how challenging it can be for a woman or a wife to feel on equal footing with her husband. Even at the best of circumstances and the best of times. But it's clearly a value that this character wants to experience and isn't. And just the tensions that brings us. She's sort of incapable of talking about the disappointment that their family is to her, because it's not like she's actually unhappy to be in the family. It's just that there's something not quite right.
Mm-hmm.
And that the world is stacking the deck, Mm-hmm. And so I think that's one, in addition to all the other levels that this is playing on, the mother and child, the mother who is a child and is a mother, that intergenerational play of things, the cultural revolution aspect of it, all these other aspects of it, that this is just one more, thread in the harp that the director's able to play really effectively.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just really a testament to how skillful this film, and the filmmakers were.
Yeah.
Been putting it together. How about for you? Last thoughts?
I do have one last thought. I know in a lot of fiction, basements are scary, but in this particular movie, and I don't want to give too much away, it was both ends of the building were the scary parts. Both the top and the bottom.
Mm-hmm. For a long time, the top is scary. For reasons that will become obvious as you watch the film, but that for a long time the basement is the sanctuary.
Yeah.
The safe spot. And
that's true. They do a role reversal for a while until nearer to the end.
Until near the end. And then, at the point where everything, where all of the manure has totally hit the fan.
Yes.
Then there's no safe place. And I think that's where, ultimately, without giving too much away, that's where the film leaves you. There is no safe place.
That's true, yeah. So if you would like to add anything to our conversation, please leave a comment down below, or go to the website, novetovideo.com, and leave a comment there, and we'll be sure to respond to you.
All right. So that brings us to the time on No Veto Video when we each take a crack at suggesting another film. We call it our Veto Override. To watch in place of or alongside of this one. I think we're both really positive on Under the Shadow, so this is a quick list of alongside ofs. So, you want to take your first crack?
Yeah, I actually had this one way in advance. About halfway through the movie, I told you I called dibs on that movie and you weren't allowed to use it. Poltergeist, or really anything in the Poltergeist series of...
I think that was certainly the first one. Very, very definitely the first one, Poltergeist. Felt like a great pick.
Yeah.
So you want to talk a little more about why?
It like this movie, it also deals with the topic of a family going through some rough times and with supernatural things terrorizing their children.
Mm-hmm. I saw more themes than just that, but that delves too deeply into spoiler territory, so we'll hold back. I'm going to start with a cheat, and then I'm going to go with two that we have seen. So I am just breaking all the rules today. But the one that we haven't seen, that the filmmaker sort of acknowledges as sort of a cousin of this film, is the Australian movie The Babadook, which we haven't seen yet. It's on the list. We will get to it eventually. Mm-hmm. But has sort of similar maternal breakdown, difficult child kind of themes. So they were being made at about the same... This was being made at about the same time that The Babadook was being released, and they didn't... So this had already been written and everything like that before that film was released. So that's the one that I can't 100% say, but I feel pretty confident that it kind of has that same sort of feel to it. I think if this time period is interesting to you, there are great movies to watch that aren't this, but the one that comes to mind is the movie Argo with Ben Affleck. Mm-hmm. Sort of another take at a little bit earlier than this, the beginning of the Iranian Revolution, but yeah, that would be something to check out. And so then what is my actual pick? My actual pick is The Woman in Black. In sort of implacable, unbargainable supernatural forces that target children. So that was sort of my thought as I was watching this, and then just how the garb of women can itself be a tool of terror. So that I mean, a lot of veils going on in both films.
While we were discussing the movie tonight while we were recording, something you had said had made me think of Woman in Black also. So yeah, good choice.
That was my pick. And another film where I didn't 100% know what I was getting into when I sat down to watch it.
And you chose that one.
I did. Yeah, I do from time to time pick horror movies.
Not only that, you chose it at the theater where you can't just get up.
Oh, that was such a mistake. It was so bad. I'm so bad at theaters when it's something scary.
Oh, that's right. You did that with Sixth Sense, too.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. That's why we generally like to watch these on bright, sunny days.
So next time on No Veto Video, we bring you Blood Moon, which you can find on Amazon Prime, and it was released in, I believe, 2015, right?
Yes, 2015. All right. Thank you so much for riding along with us on this journey through scary, scary time and place. We hope that you will check out Under the Shadow. Like we said, come find us. If you're interested in checking back in with us, please hit the subscribe button wherever it might be. Go on a hunt. It's an adventure. And that'll keep you informed when we release new films. Which will be... we're not releasing new films. We are film critics, of a sort. And so we will be responding to Blood Moon, which your newly subscribed self will be informed about. So thank you again.
And until next time...
Say goodnight, Gracie.
Oh, you didn't say goodbye.
No, it's your turn to say goodbye. I'll take this out.
Oh. Until next time, thank you for watching and goodbye.
Goodbye.